All right, so now we have a world champion game.
Yeah, Smyslov against Botvinnik. Well, the Smyslov was one of the world champions, a little bit underrated like this. Nobody gave too much attention to Smyslov,
Okay.
but he was a very, very strong player, and he can prove it right here, in this game. Very important game theoretically because they played both Greenfield with white and with black. It was, some Soviet variation for white, where he tried a new line after bishop g7, queen b3. That was the Soviet specialty with queen b3. The normal moves instead of queen b3 here are bishop g5 or bishop f4, or even more quietly e3. E3 doesn't give anything for white, nothing much, of course. But after bishop g5 or bishop f4 is theoretically very important, even now, you see. So, okay, the alternative queen b3. And after queen b3 takes in c4, bishop, queen takes c4, castle, e4. If you look at this, you remember they had already a very nice game later on at the Varna Olympiad between Botvinnik with white against Fischer, where Botvinnik was able to escape. Finally, he was clearly worse with white. Fischer came and he could prove that black was, okay in that important variation. And finally, he was winning, And after the German, the Soviet team could save the game. They analyzed very well, and it was the only encounter between Botvinnik and Fischer. And finally, it was a draw, So here we have this with Botvinnik playing for black, So, okay, after bishop g4, everything is theory until now. Bishop g4, bishop e3, knight f d7. All right, so now castle.
So here white is okay to double the pawns here?
Yes, everything is theory,
Yeah, okay.
So, okay, now castle, you see. Now after castle, he played knight c6. Good. h3, okay. He forced black to take, He takes, and now, okay, black has to prove that he has chances to get some even game, So queen c5, everything theory until now, you see. And here f5, provoking the game, the continuation from their game. If white wants something, he has to push the pawn, later on, but not immediately. He wants to force black to arrive to this position by giving, a chance to come later on with the knight in f4. If he has time to, he threatens here, knight f4.
Yeah.
If he has time to come to f4 and the idea knight e6, white is clearly better, So black has to do something very quickly, So he played normal move, queen d6. And starting from here, everything is very interesting, Okay, e5. And here black took in c5. Bad move,
Right.
You see that it is very interesting that one move makes the whole difference, The right idea here was to play immediately here queen d5,
Queen d5?
Why? Queen d5. Why is so important? After queen d5, if you take yourself in d5, you don't have anything with white, So he controls the square. d5 is enough to have a good game, So you don't play, of course, you don't take there. But the idea after queen d5 is to force the knight c3, Why? He attacks the queen.
Yes.
And after knight c3, seems white has fantastic game,
Yeah.
But it is a very big difference. Now he takes in c5, And when he takes back in c5, he has the only move f4. But the only move f4 is an excellent move, which gives very good chances to, to have a nice game with black, you see. Is enough to,
because
to
now
make the difference.
It doesn't lose his pawn.
If you go back with the bishop in d2, now he has time to move the knight to d7, and he controls, the center. He attacks twice, e5 and c5, and black has an excellent position, And now we'll see the difference. He played very, very quickly. He took in d5, in c5, and that gives white a very strong initiative. White is clearly better now, you see.
Yeah, now this square is
now
not...
what to do? The only move is to play knight c4 now. Okay,
Yeah.
he played knight c4. And we see the difference. Now after f4, he accepts the fact that you have time to take the bishop in e3, but after rook d8, bishop g2, we'll see the difference. The bishop from g2 is very strong. The bishop from g7 is very weak. He doesn't do anything for the moment, And until the end of the game, the bishop will be very passive in g7, you see. Therefore, white has a very strong initiative here, probably enough to try to play for win until the end, So he took, and now knight before, the only good move, the only hope, you see. Now he wants to come to a2 or in d3, but it's not enough. Why? We'll see why. No, okay, now he has to move the rook now.
Yeah.
Rook b8. And now, very strong c6 again. It seems that the bishop is out of play in b7, but in reality, the bishop has a fantastic position in b7. We'll see. A very strong threat with the c pawn until the end. So now what to do here? He wants to come to do something. Knight d3 was not enough. If he played, for instance, knight d3 check, after king c2, what to do here? The only move is knight f2 or knight c5. In both cases, white is much better, After knight c5, he has time to take, for instance, there,
Yeah.
And when you take back, he has time to put b4, for instance. Well, b4 is okay, very strong. And when he takes, and then he comes with the rook in d1, and it's probably enough to try to play for win.
In d1?
In d1, later on.
Yeah.
Even if he gives back the pawn, because the knight in d4 is fantastic, the bishop from f8 in g7 doesn't do anything, So therefore, white is much better and has clearly chances to play for win,
Yeah.
But he could play even better than this, with white. As long as the bishop doesn't play from g7, white has a fantastic game, So now he comes. You see, after knight d4, the position is probably already lost for black here, We'll see why. So why he played e6? Okay, so after e6, knight b5, almost decisive. Now what to do? The game continuation is forced. Knight d5, and now, very simple, very strong. Rook takes. Now he has to take back with the pawn. If he took back with the rook,
Yeah.
After knight takes c7, what does he play? Rook c5 check, probably, no?
Yes.
Yeah. Or rook d8 back. Okay, rook c5 check, for instance, king b1. Okay, king b1. And now, finish, because it's no defense against move knight a6. Knight a6 is decisive,
Yeah.
Look, with the bishop in b7, but everything is possible because of this bishop on b7,
Because the threat of the pawn.
Yeah, because if he has time to push the pawn, it's finished,
Yeah.
So, right, so he tried to resist by playing e takes d5, but it's too late, So knight takes. Now everything is forced. He has to give back the exchange, So he takes, and now he takes simply in d5. Now he took with check, king d2, king e6, knight c3, black resigned. 2 pawns down for nothing, you see, and completely winning position for white.
Yeah.
But if somebody analyzes the game, everything was possible because black played only one bad move,
He took the
Taking
queen.
immediately in c5. If he play queen d5, it's very unclear. Okay, maybe it's better for white, but not like this, you see. Very
Big
unclear,
difference.
you see. In one move, makes the difference, by this very high level. And we have to take into account that everything was analysis at home,
Yes.
Probably.
Yes.
So
One move was enough.
one move, decisive, you see.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you.
And finally, probably in that match, Smyslov became world champion by beating Botvinnik.
First time. Only time.
Only
maybe.
time.
Yes.
Then later on, Botvinnik took back the title and he lost again the title against Stahl, And then he took back again the title against Stahl and he lost the title, finally the third time against Petrosian. And against Petrosian was the end, And finally he couldn't take back the title.
All right.
But what else? very high level, and a game like this is very instructive, you see.
True.
A small thing like this, enough.
Okay, thank you,
But
Mr.
we
Gheorghiu.
can say that the whole game was home analysis, It's unbelievable by that time. If it
Yeah.
happens now, it's almost possible, because of the computer,
Yeah.
But then, without computer,
Was everything
fantastic, everything
his
human,
his own
Yeah,
contribution?
yeah, okay. Or his team, of course, because everybody had a team like this, 2, 3, 5 grandmasters, helping, But even so, it's impressive,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
You're
Gheorghiu.
welcome. Look, until then, the bishop from G7 is a spectator,
Yeah. Said
Yeah.
said
Yeah, like
bishop.
this.